For my next blog coming up, I got a chance to talk about some of the books I liked. And, one of the books that really had a profound influence upon me and what I do and how I get out there was a book by Chris Lytle called The Accidental Salesperson. You can see it behind me over here. Chris, your video camera seems to be off right now. I don't know if it clicked off when I turned recording on, but if you want to come back and say hi, you can. So Chris Lytle is actually on with me right now, and let's go to the master himself. Chris, as you know, I read the book. You and I met via a conference I was at online on Zoom, and then I called you afterwards. We've kind of been chatting for a few years now, and I love the book. I love the book to the point where I've actually given it as a gift to several clients. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate what you did, man. It really beautifully summarized from what we as non-salespeople can do. And I wanted to just ask you, so, what inspired you to write this book? What was your impetus for saying, I want to teach non-salespeople how to sell?
Well, I was an accidental salesperson, and I'd been a political science major. You went to George Washington University. I was at American University. And I got home to my hometown, and I thought, well, I'm probably not going to be a lawyer. I'm too young to run for Congress, so I'll become a news person. I'll be a newsman. It was newsman back then, 1972. And I went into the local radio station and said, I'd like to have a news job. Even if you can't pay me, I'd like to get on and do the news. He said, we don't need another newsman, Chris. We need a salesman. And I said, but I'm a political science major. He said, well, that won't slow you down too much. You can read and write and research stuff. I said, yeah. He said, what? And I found out I really liked it. I loved advertising anyway. And I was pretty successful. I got some training, and then I moved to Madison, Wisconsin, and I really started to grow. But I just remember that first young Chris Lytle, I'm in sales, now what? And I started trying to figure it out. And so many people get into sales accidentally. And in fact, I sat down one day, I was going to brainstorm 100 titles for the book because I had some of it written. And I went to my computer and I wrote, it was a Saturday morning, I wrote The Accidental Salesperson. That's all I need. Okay. I didn't have to brainstorm 100. I said, that's it. Because there was a book called The Accidental Tourist, if you remember that. And there was a movie by that same name. So, but the other motivation, of course, is when you become a seminar guy, professional speaker, the book becomes your brochure. And when it came out, I started doing business with Fortune 500 companies, tech startups, and manufacturing companies because they'd read the book. Even though my niche was broadcast advertising, I've done 2,300 seminars, and I would say 99% have been for radio and TV stations.
Wow. It made
associations.
For me, it made a big difference in the way I approach clients, the way I approach doing some of my proposals, actually, and how I follow up on them. That was a big point for me. What kind of results have you seen for people who've read the book?
Well, I get, I won't call it fan mail, but there's not a day that goes by where somebody says, I read your book. I bought 5 from my salespeople. We're reading it together as a team. And the other day, a woman said, when I read that, I felt understood because I was going through some of those doubts and fears and anxieties about what do I do? I'm in sales now. And you've got to get your mind to where I'm trying to help this person solve their problems instead of my problem is I got to make a commission. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
But what did it do for you, Seth? I mean, what was the part that spoke to you?
There were a few things on there. You have a system of type of relationship, from a level 1 relationship to a level 2 relationship, and it really crystallized something I kind of knew, but I never wanted to walk into a client and just say, hey, what's going on? What are you guys doing these days? And I always wanted to be that resource for them. But the way you laid it out into different stages really helped me. And the other big one was I had been guilty in the past of writing proposals and simply sending them over, like just kind of throwing them over the fence, email, and hoping my proposal was great. And your point was never do that. You want to send the proposal like 5 minutes before you get on the phone with these guys, and then have a chance to review it with them, because lo and behold, several times there were minor changes that had to be done to that proposal that were then done on the fly that got me the work. It was a simple matter of making a few tweaks and changes that, had I just left it as is, I probably wouldn't have gotten it.
Yes, and of course, I was in a small market. You're in Long Beach, and it's the commutes there are not like Madison, Wisconsin, or Newark, Ohio, where I was born, because you can be anywhere in 3 minutes. So whether you do it by Zoom or whether you're able to do it in person, and it's so important to do it in person, because if there's the buying team is there, they can ask questions and beat you up a little bit, and you can adapt, like you just said. You can adapt on the fly. Then it's their presentation, not just yours.
So tell me a little about Instant Salesperson. I know you've got, and I've used some of these, some of the online tools you've got available for folks out there.
Yeah, it's instantSalesTraining.com is my website, and I may not look it, but I'll be 80 in 7 years, and so I hang out in this office. That picture back there is not a water buffalo; it's a Tibetan yak. And my wife gave it to me. Sarah said, you yak for a living, so I'm going to give you a background of a yak. But I come in and record. Sometimes I video, sometimes just audio. A 3 to 7 minute knowledge bite, and I call it a knowledge bite because it's an easily digestible sales idea. You don't have to go to a seminar on prospecting. Here's 5 minutes on prospecting, and you can put that into action today. So it's designed for today's kind of deficit attention span world. I call it short attention span sales training. And it's funny because I used to do 136-hour seminars annually. I would do 13 seminars, 6 hours each a month for 10 months out of the year. And the last time I flew to Sydney, Australia, they said, we want you to speak at our conference. And I said, what do you need? They said, 45 minutes. I said, a 35-hour flight for 45 minutes? Yep, that's what we want. You're opening for John Cleese. So I kind of got the hint that the shorter and shorter programs were more palatable and more wanted, for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's very much the trend. I think people want information in bite-sized pieces. I myself also, we'll sometimes read book summaries and things like that. But I love that you have these smaller, little digestible pieces of information.
Well, Sarah and I moved to Chattanooga 4 or 5 years, but this is our 5th year. We're in an apartment, a beautiful place, and I had to change the water filter on my refrigerator. And I said, "Oh, where is it? How do I do it?" And I looked at the model number and I typed it on YouTube, model GE model this, and there was the 3-minute video. And 5 minutes later, my water filter was changed and I was back doing other stuff. And that's the kind of on-demand world we have. I need the information now. I can't get it 6 months ago and remember it. So,
Well, thank you, Chris. Like I said, you are the book of the month, man. This is, and again, I cannot say enough positive things about the book, what it's done for me, how it's helped me, how it's helped my clients. So, and thank you for taking a little time just to be online with us and give your own personal flair to it.
It's always good to see you, Seth, and thanks for inviting me.
Bye-bye.
All right. So long.